He came back before me and started work at the Ministry of Works. We got married when I finished school, and it was a very quiet wedding. It was just us and our parents. My mom was my maid of honor. His dad was the best man, and his mom was the witness, and it was just us and the priest, and it was really, really nice.
The only woman he ever loved, he married. They had a very, very powerful relationship. There's no question that they loved each other very, very much.
We rented a small house just off Nassau Street, bought our secondhand furniture that I covered, and we made our home there. He grew up in a home where his father treated his mother with respect. She was the queen, and that's what it was like in our house. I was quite adamant that I didn't want any kids until I was ready, because I knew it was quite a commitment. He always said, you know, I want 9 kids. But when I was ready, I had Ebony first.
He was my favorite person in the world, the person I feel knew me best. We are very similar in a lot of ways. Yes, a really important part of my life and who I've become in so many ways.
After all the work of raising one child, he said, you know, well, maybe I don't think I want 9 kids anymore. Unfortunately, in the meantime, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had a stage 1 cancer. I had a mastectomy, because in those days, you know, that was it.
I was 4 when that happened, and I still remember that. I had this conversation with Daddy about, well, are you still gonna love her because she only has 1 breast now? Because it was very concerning for me. And he said, well, I didn't marry your mother's breast, I married her. I couldn't think of a better answer to that question. That he loved the person she was, and all the extras had nothing to do with it.
Jackson did not like hospital, and he said, boy, Pam, I don't know how you do this. And he told me how petrified he was of the whole experience, because he thought that he might lose me. Death was always a part of what we talked about. I mean, life means death. We had to wait at least for 5 years to make sure that I was cancer-free. That's why there's a 6-year gap between Ebony and Orchid.
He always wanted you to follow whatever your dream was. He was encouraging. If I said I wanted to be an astronaut or a deep sea diver or whatever it was, as long as it wasn't a bank robber, because that's the only job he ever vetoed.
And they had him around their finger. He'd always talk about me and my girls.
Both of them have a mixture of he and Pam. You know, heaven help us.
And we were all very strong-willed. And he would be the only man in the house, and he would just hold up his hands and say, Lord, help me.
He never treated us like children. He always treated us as people who were capable of understanding. Being treated like an equal from a very young age made it just so much easier when we finally became adults to have a connection that wasn't about being a child of someone, but just as 2 peers.